Good morning, hello and welcome. This is a Magnetic Monday live community call. So I'm going live, I think just a moment early because I'm using StreamYard, which I haven't used before. So just bear with me while I just check that it seems to be going live and working, which is a good start. And if you're with me here live, then please say hello in the chat box. And what I need you to do, if you're watching along on Facebook, then you need to give Facebook permission to see your name so that when I, when I see your comments, I know who's commenting and I know who's asking the question. So I've just popped that in the comments for you. Hey, Shirley Ann, you obviously found the give Facebook permission unless you're watching. Yes, you are on Facebook. Cool. And I'm obviously live. Good. So I can stop checking. And this is really cool because wherever you're watching along, all your comments come through to me. I've got a 10-second delay, but that's pretty damn good. So what we're talking about today, and excuse my neighbours still fixing their portico. I think they're just about rebuilding the whole house. So what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about whether it's best to save money, invest your money, or pay off your debt. And we're not just going to talk about it from the, financial, practical, accounting kind of side. We're also going to talk about it from the mindset and vibrational side. So I plan to be here for about, you didn't have to give permission though. Strange. Okay. Oh, well, you're here. So if you are watching on Facebook, find that comment that I popped up and it's also in the description on Facebook and just click that, give Facebook permission. Maybe you've done it before, Shirley, and you just forgot. So should you save, invest or pay off debt? Which is best and which helps you become magnetic to more money and abundance the fastest? Because, if you have been around me at all, you know that I'm all about the practical. You've got to actually do the stuff. But if you have an understanding of what it means on the vibrational side and how your mindset comes into it, then you hit that sweet spot where you finally move forward and things start to shift. So we're going to talk about that. Now, please let me know in the comments, where are you watching from in the world? Where are you located? And if you've got a business, give your business a shout out. Tell us what you do, okay? And I can actually pop a few comments like this. So if you want to let me know a little bit about your business and where you are in the world, I'll pick a couple of comments to put up. And if you're watching this, after I've gone live, then put hashtag replay in so I know you're watching. The more you engage, the more I know that you want to hear more of this sort of stuff and learn more about this sort of stuff. So before we get started, a quick disclaimer. Yes, we're talking money. Yes, we're talking finances. But I'm not here to give you financial advice. I'm not licensed to give you financial advice. I'm here to give you my knowledge based on 15 years of running a finance business that I don't run anymore, and my opinion and my knowledge based on being a hypnotherapist who specializes in helping women in business sort out their money mindset, and an infinite possibilities trainer who helps to help you understand how it is that your thoughts become things. So if you do need specific financial advice for your personal situation, then go sit with a financial planner and get that. So you can totally ask me questions. I can give you some, general pointers and so on. But again, I don't know the specifics of your personal situation, but I'm sure you're going to get quite a bit out of this. So this is a free community call. I plan to run these regularly. How often I run them is really up to you. So if you've got questions about today's topic, ask. If you've got comments, let me know. If you're having aha and light bulb moments, pop it in the chat box so that I know you're getting lots out of this. And that if there are any other topics you'd like me to talk about in the future, let me know. I'd love you to talk about XYZ, or I'd love to learn more about this. And then I can jot it down and I can talk about that another time. Now, quick shout out also to my friends Maria and Marie. I told you I'd give you a shout out. We were together yesterday and Maria actually asked the question that I will address in a moment. So let's first of all talk about the sort of financial side of things, the strict numbers, like should I invest, should I save my money, or should I pay off debt? And I'm going to just address each of those three things and quickly talk about the pros and cons. So number one, saving money. Saving money is great. Saving money means that you've got cash available anytime you need. Okay, if something happens, you can just grab what you need and away you go. So it's very liquid. Savings are very easily accessible and very liquid. The downside of savings is that usually you're not getting a lot of leverage for your money, right? You're getting bank interest, which is, hopefully keeping up with CPI, but that's about it. And incidentally, if you put your money under the mattress, like some people still do, then I want you to become aware that that actually means your money's shrinking every single year, because I just mentioned CPI. CPI is the cost of living going up, to keep it simple. And it actually means that your money is worth a little bit less each year. So if you're not at least keeping up with CPI by at least putting your money into a savings account, then your money is shrinking a little bit every single year. So you need to have a little think about that. Okay, somebody said, hi, everyone. I don't know who that is. So can you please, I'll pop it up so that you can see. This is what it looks like for me if you haven't given StreamYard permission to see your name if you're watching along on Facebook. So I've popped a comment in the chat box, and I think it's also in the description of this video. Just click that, give StreamYard permission to see your name, and then your name will actually show up like this. See? Cool. Okay, so that's savings, like very briefly, pros and cons of savings. Now, let's talk about investing. So when you invest your money, the cool thing is that you're usually getting a better return on your investment. So I'm talking investing not just into like a savings account, but maybe into shares or something like that. You can invest in lots of different things, and it gets very complicated, and I'm not even going to go there today. But the point is that you get a return on your investment, right? With that comes more risk. Usually it's, the higher the possible return, the higher the risk. That's kind of how it works. So the good thing though is that with investing, you leverage your money. You're basically lending your money to somebody who does stuff with it and pays you for borrowing your money. So it's like you're lending your money out in a way. That's how most investments work. And so you're leveraging your money, you're getting a better return, but with it usually comes more of a risk. Even investing in the stock market, we all know it goes up and down. And so what that means is that your money is not usually as liquid and as accessible, because the worst time you want to cash in your shares is when the market is down. So generally speaking, I say, invest in that longer term stuff, the things that you are comfortable you're not going to need short term, right? So we're just kind of talking about the pros and cons of everything. Hello, Jacqueline. Lovely to see you. Let us know in the chat box where you are. Jacqueline's in Canada. She's in Niagara Falls. Let us know a little bit about your business and what you do if you're watching live. And I'll pop that up and give you a little shout out on the screen. Okay, so that's investment, pros and cons, right? And then debt, pros and cons. You might think, are there any pros to debt? Well, debt, again, is a way that you leverage your money. So, for example, you can leverage your money to invest in more shares, right? So you can do that. You can actually, just like you put a down payment on a house and the bank gives you the rest, you can do the same with shares, right? So you can leverage to buy shares. So usually we take on debt as a form of leverage, especially the bigger debts in life, like buying a house. You have to save the deposit, the bank gives you the rest, or you put down a deposit to buy a car, the bank or the financial institution gives you the rest. So that's kind of the pro side of debt. The downside of debt is, of course, you owe money, you're paying interest, and if you're not getting on top of that debt, then you can risk paying interest on interest on interest, which is compound interest. Now, compound interest is something I could talk about for hours. I won't, I promise. I'm keeping this call to about 20 minutes. However, if you think about it, the way I explain compound interest is either it's working for you, which means your money is making money babies and the money babies are making more money babies. So that's when compound interest is working for you. That's when you're investing in things that give you a return, and then say you reinvest those returns, and then you get a return on your returns being reinvested, and so on. So it's like this amazing family tree that, really gathers momentum. But compound interest can also work against you. And that's what happens with debt. If you've ever had a credit card that's completely maxed out, that you can't seem to get on top of, it's usually compound interest working against you. You're copping interest on the interest and you just can't seem to get on top of it, and you can't seem to ever get ahead. So that's compound interest working against you. That's really making debt babies. And, so what you need to think about is, where's compound interest working against me, and how can I get on top of that as quickly as possible so I can turn the tide and have compound interest working for me? So they're kind of, the pros and cons of debt, investment, saving. So which one's best? Okay, well, from a pure numbers point of view, and I'll start there. From a pure numbers point of view, obviously, if you've listened to anything I've said or knew anything about this before, you go, well, it's not good to have debt, right? Especially personal debt where you haven't leveraged it for an investment. Like if you've got debt to buy investment properties, that's great because you've invested in a property that is giving you a return on investment, you're getting rental income, and hopefully it's also going up in capital value over time. We do the same when we leverage our money to buy shares. We're banking on the fact that the shares and the dividends, like the price of the shares, the value of the shares, and the dividends we're getting in return for our investment are going to outperform what we've paid to borrow that extra money when we've done margin lending and things like that, where we basically putting some money down, borrowing the rest to invest in shares. So you can do that with shares, you can do that with property, you can do that with a whole lot of stuff. So generally speaking, the debt that's not giving you return for investment or tax deductions or any benefits like that is the debt we want to get rid of the quickest, right? Generally speaking. Now, then next, really, remember I talked about CPI at the start? If you can get a better return on your money than just, bare bottom basic bank interest, you'll be doing a little bit better. But remember, I talked about that there's an issue, a potential issue with that, because if you want to access your money in a hurry and, you've invested it in something, say, like shares, and the shares have dropped in value, well, that's not a time you want to liquidate. That's not a time you want to cash in because you might lose money. You want to be able to liquidate those shares when you're going to make the most profit. And so, you do want to always have some cash reserves available. So that's kind of talking it through. Hang on, I need my glasses to read comments. Shirley, I'm going to pop this up. It's probably going to take up oh no, it's done very well. So Money's Messenger. I love that you call yourself that. So that's a little bit about Jacqueline, who is in Newcastle. Cool. And here's Andrea, just a couple of shout outs saying hello. Andrea does amazing work with Qigong and she's incredibly intuitive and she combines all these amazing skills she has. So thanks for saying hello, lovely ladies. So that's kind of the, on the financial side of things. Now, my gorgeous friend Maria said to me yesterday when we caught up, she said, oh, you're just going to tell us to pay the minimum of our debts because they just want to know that we're trying. And I laughed. I love her so much. I laughed because, it was just a really cute way she phrased the question. But I wanted to address that question because there is, for starters, one kind of, and we didn't talk about it in detail after that. I just kind of laughed and said, I'll talk about that tomorrow. But there is one possible preconception within even that question, and it's that credit providers actually want you to pay off your debt. And to be honest, they don't. All they want you to do is make the minimum payments because guess what? That's how they make the maximum amount of profit. Right? So when your credit card is maxed out and you're just managing to make the minimum payment, that's when you're paying the most interest. That's when compound interest is working against you, and you have to kind of go, oh, I have to pay that little bit extra just to keep it under the limit. Otherwise, even the interest could bump it over. Although with regulations having changed recently, the minimum payments usually force you to at least cover your interest. But credit providers are not here to give you charity or as a community service and to help you buy your dream house that you can't afford on your own. They're, the most profitable companies on the planet. So They don't want you to get ahead of your debt in any hurry. They want you to keep those credit cards. That's why you turn 18 and you start getting credit card offers. Like, what? Don't get me started. That's why, with regulations tightening, it's not so bad anymore. But you used to just get a letter in the post saying, just sign here and you'll have a new credit card for $20,000, like for a limit of $20,000, which to me is really criminal because people just don't understand often how the system works. So no, well, it's not about they want you to know they're trying. It's, yes, you have to pay your minimum. You have to make your minimum payments. That's a legal contract you've got. If you don't do that, you risk ruining your credit rating. But they don't really want you to pay it off, because if you pay it off, they're not making any profit, right? So just remember that the people providing you credit, they're not your friends. They're making money off you. And usually if you've been with an institution, a banking institution, for a really long time, they don't care. It usually means they're actually making more profit off you. When I was in mortgage broking and people would come to me saying, oh, I've been with the same bank for 10, even 20 years sometimes, I'm such a loyal customer. I'm sure they're taking great care of me. Those were usually the people on the highest rates that weren't even publicly available anymore. They were really old legacy rates that they just got left on and forgotten about, and nobody ever rang them to say, did you realize that, if you were a new customer to us today, you would literally have an interest rate of, sometimes 1% to 2% less, which is massive when it's a home loan. So credit providers are not your friends. They're not there to look out for you. Their job is to make money off you. And yes, there is legislation to make sure that they're not taking advantage and putting people into undue hardship. But at the end of the day, if you can afford it on paper, they're going to give you the credit, and the more interest you pay them, the better. So, cool. So that's that. Now, I will just quickly touch on one thing, because I'm talking about when I used to do home loans. In terms of, like we've talked about the financial, so clear debt that doesn't give you tax deductions or a good return on investment should always be kind of the first thing you look at. See if you can leverage some of your savings to get a better return on investment without overstepping the risk that you're able to take or comfortable with. And I will talk about the mindset and the vibration in a minute, because that actually overrides possibly everything I've told you so far. So don't run away just yet. Now, the one time that I would sometimes say to people who came to me because they wanted to buy a house or something like that, sometimes I'd say, look, you're actually on a really great income, and these credit cards or personal loans, they're not really, stopping you from borrowing more money. So right now, focus on saving more, because what you actually need is more of a deposit. So, that's where your personal situation and where you're at in life does come into it. And for some people, it would be the opposite. It would be, you've got enough of a deposit to buy that next property or to do whatever it is you want to do next. But you will not be able to borrow the money you need to borrow, because right now you've already got too many borrowings, and you really need to reduce limits and get rid of some of this debt. So, depending on where you're at in life, it's not always a straight cut answer. Good morning, Marie. Marie, tell us where you are and tell us a little bit about your business, and I'll give you a little shout out and put that up. I loved it when I read the Barefoot Investor, says Shirley, about Dolomite School account. Yes, exactly. That's it. So this is an Australian, one of our main banks, and they've always had these kids' bank accounts which pay no interest, which supposedly teach kids how to save. They don't really do much, to be honest. But what they do is they've got your details on file, and the moment you turn 18, they would send you an offer to have a credit card. So not your friends, really not your friends, okay? That's a little bit about Jacqueline's business there. So that's on the what makes sense from the numbers and the financial side. Now, like I said, what I'm about to say next might trump everything I've told you so far. And if you've got questions as I'm talking, please pop them in the chat box. So if you know anything about me, then you'll know that I'm all about marrying the magical with the practical, because just doing one or the other, you're missing out on a whole lot of leverage and traction, right? And I'll leave it at that in terms of an explanation. So let's talk about now savings, investment, debt on the mindset and vibrational side of things. So I've just given you the, logical sequence on the financial number crunching side of things, but let's talk about it on that logical side, on that mindset side of things. So how do you feel about the amount of savings you've got in the bank right now, or the lack of savings you've got in the bank right now? How do you feel about the debts you have right now? Because the way you feel about your money determines your vibration around money. It determines whether you're feeling like, you're abundant and you're getting ahead financially and you're on top of everything, or whether you feel like, it's just, this huge weight on your shoulders and you're carrying this heavy burden and you're constantly stressed and worried about money. Because however you're feeling, that is your predominant vibration that you're putting out to the universe. And you're going to keep getting more and more of the same, because at the same time as that's your vibration and your kind of the thing you're radiating out, that message you're radiating out, it's also what you're programming yourself with more and more and more. So it builds momentum. And this is, another word for law of attraction that I want you to keep in mind: momentum. And it happens at all these different levels. It's not just about, I have this idea of something I want in my life and then it manifests and, wow, here it is. Law of attraction is about momentum. It starts with thoughts, right? So if you have all these negative thoughts, these thoughts around money worry, money stress, that just keeps building and building and building, because the mind loves this principle of synergy. One thought leads to another similar thought, leads to another similar thought. And at the same time, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling stressed, worried, and depressed, that builds and builds as well, because you're literally conditioning your body chemistry and you're getting addicted to that state of stress and worry. And so it then becomes your normal, your set point. And that's not a good place to be, because if you're feeling like money's hard, if you're thinking about all the money that you don't have and the debts you have and how hard it is and the bills and and you see yourself as somebody who constantly struggles with money or worries about money, then you're going to keep creating more and more situations like that. So you need to really look at, well, how do I feel about my debt? How do I feel about the savings? And how do I feel about investing? Some people are really, really nervous about investing. They can't seem to bring themselves to do it because to them, the perceived risk is so, so high. Some people are really, really debt averse. They won't even, even if they can buy an investment property quite easily and it won't actually put them out of pocket, they won't do it. I used to have clients like that all the time where I go, do you know what? You can actually buy an investment property that is, nothing's a sure deal, but something that is very likely to go up in value. It won't even cost you anything. Here, I've run the numbers for you. And they just wouldn't do it. All they wanted to do was pay off their home loan, be debt-free, and just not have it. So a whole lot of other stuff comes into play, right? Like your conditioning around money, your belief systems around money. And one of the key things to all of it is your money habit archetype. Now, your money habit archetype, there are three main ones. If you don't know what yours is, you can find out by taking my quiz, and I might just pop that in the comments for you as well, because it might be easier for you to get onto. So you can take my quiz and find out whether your money habit archetype is a spender, an accumulator, or an overextender. And that will have a huge part in how you feel about your debt, your savings, lack of either or, right? It makes a massive difference, because somebody who is a natural born spender, and a spender is basically somebody who tends to always kind of break even, they're really comfortable with not having a lot of savings because they're programmed and conditioned to kind of see their money come and go, come and go, come and go. They always, they're the ones that money comes in and they go, great, what can I buy with it? Okay. So they're quite comfortable with not having a huge amount of savings. So a spender is actually somebody who can quite easily focus on paying off their debt first and really get stuck into it and go, I don't have a lot of savings right now, but I am going to pay off that debt and I feel great about it. Whereas if you're an accumulator money habit archetype, which is somebody who really needs to have that safety net, they need to know that, they've got plenty of money to fall back on. Even though logically, and when you run the numbers and financially, it makes sense to pay off your debt first, they will be so stressed out about the fact that they don't have savings in the bank right now, that their vibration, their mindset, all of what's going on internally for them, which then attracts more and more things like that, is going to be programmed around, I'm not safe, I'm not secure, I don't have enough money, life is stressful, yada, yada, yada. So somebody who is an accumulator money habit archetype is actually better off to go, okay, I know it financially and numerically makes sense to pay off my credit card fast, but I know that if I do that, I'm going to feel so stressed and worried about money that I'll keep attracting more debt and I won't get out of this hole. So for them, it'll often make, and most of the time, like I'm saying often just to kind of for the disclaimer part, but basically, if you're an accumulator, you want to have a nest egg first. You want to have a buffer, because the moment you've got that buffer of money, and if there's some of you guys who are here know which money habit archetype you are, right? So let me know if this resonates with you. So if you're an accumulator, then you need to know that you've got some cash in the bank, and not shares and investments that you might not want to liquidate in a hurry, but cash in the bank, you need to know. So, I remember having one lady in the Magnetic Money program, and she was like, if I don't have at least $10,000 cash in the bank, I get so stressed and worried. And then there were others going, can't remember the last time I had $10,000 just cash lying around, right? I might have investments and other things, but just cash sitting there, 10 grand, never. But for her, it was like, that was her zero in her head. And if she fell below that, she just couldn't cope. So if that's you, if you're an accumulator money habit archetype, then vibrationally and mindset wise, which trumps everything else, you're better off putting some savings aside first. Once you've got that, you'll feel relaxed, you'll feel calm and in control, and then paying off that debt will help you feel like really, really good about your finances. Whereas if you do it the other way around, you'll just be really stressed the whole time because you don't have savings, and that's such an important thing for you. So the money habit archetype is really critical, and knowing which you are and how to work with it is really, really important, because yes, the numbers say this, and that's great. And, I'm a huge fan of the Barefoot Investor as well, and Profit First and stuff like that. But what they don't address is the vibrational and the mindset side of things. Like, Scott Pape, I love him to death. And he goes, have a money date with your partner every single week. Now, I know that one suggestion alone is one of the things that causes the most stress to some of my students, having to have a conversation with their partner about money. And it's not because, these are the steps of what to do to get on top of our money isn't easy and doesn't make sense. It's because from a mindset and a programming and all your money blocks, your limiting beliefs, all that unconscious, subconscious stuff, that is so huge. It's a minefield to wade through. So that's why I'm all about, you've got to address both, and you've got to know how to bring them together in a really coherent way that supports both. And then you kind of move ahead and get on top of things, and everything starts to shift. So the answer to the question, should I invest, should I save, or should I pay off debt, is basically it depends. It depends on how you're going to feel. Here's what makes sense numerically, but know and understand yourself and where you're at right now. And what trumps everything is your vibration, because if you're feeling like crap, you're going to attract more crap. That's about as bluntly as I can put it, okay? So the tip I'm going to give you, and I'm going to leave you with a tip. I'll leave you with a tip which kind of sums everything up. But what I want to say before I do is, if you've got any more questions or anything else you want me to address, please let me know in the chat box. I also want to know, before I go, what was an aha moment you had? Share it with me, because when you share it with me, you're explaining it to yourself. And whether you're watching the replay or you're watching live, if there's other topics you want me to talk about, let me know, because I'd much rather show up and talk about something that I know you really want to know about or learn about than something that I'm guessing you want to know and learn about, right? So let me know that. Also, take the quiz if you don't know your money habit archetype. And if you take the quiz right now, at the end of the quiz, it'll tell you your money habit archetype, and then it'll prompt you to opt in to get an email with some questions that help you start kind of unraveling some of those limiting beliefs and things that are keeping you stuck in that archetype. In that email, there's also a link to my Udemy self-study course, which is Grow Your Business with Your Money Habit Archetype and Hypnosis. So that course incorporates hypnosis. It is on sale at the moment. So do the quiz, opt in at the end, and then find that link to go through and grab yourself that course if you don't have it yet. But definitely do the quiz so you know your money habit archetype and you start to understand, what are some of those factors that override everything that seems to make logical and numerical sense. Because when you get that and you get to balance the two, that's when the magic really happens. So I'm going to leave you with a tip before I go. Let me just check I haven't missed any questions. I think I'm good. One of my comments didn't go up. That's all right. You guys can find that. Now, I'm just going to say this one more time before I go as well. See that comment? I don't know who you are, honey. I'm sorry. So what you need to do is whenever you watch me on one of these Magnetic Monday community calls, because I use StreamYard, so you need to either find the little link in my description of the video or find it at the top of the comments feed and give StreamYard permission. So I know who you are. You have to give StreamYard permission to see your name. And yes, say hi to each other in the comments. Andrea's just saying hi to Isha, who is gorgeous. Shirley, great question. I have personal debt with my cousin and I want to save. So I toss and turn between wanting savings and wanting to repay my cousins. So does it come back to what feels good? Perfect question, perfect example. Love your work, Shirley. Thank you. Because lots of people have this sort of stuff going on, right? So number one, your cousin may not be charging you any interest, right? So numerically, which is lovely, they might be, I don't know, but let's assume they're not. So numerically, it might be like, yeah, I can totally afford to save some money. Know that I've got a nest egg to fall back on. Know that, if something unforeseen happens, like a global pandemic, for example, I'm going to have some money to fall back on. So that's that side. But then, like you said, you want to repay your cousin. You don't want to owe anyone any money. So what do? Well, you have to really look at that and go, okay, number one, if you know your money habit archetype and you understand yourself better, that's going to help. And that'll help you understand why you feel the way you feel. So if you find that you're feeling really, really guilty because you owe your cousin money and you having, money in the bank because you're saving for a buffer and a nest egg just makes you feel horrible, then pay your cousin back first. It also kind of depends on how much it is, but maybe in that situation, if say it's a lot of money and it's going to take you quite a long time, you might go, look, I'm going to pay my cousin back this much and then I'm going to save this much. And I might kind of switch between the two, which brings me to the tip that I wanted to share with you. And I'll do that quickly and then I'll check if there's any more questions because it's really topical with Shirley's question. My tip for you is this: find the best balance for you. Look at what I said about, numerically this makes sense. This is the order of attack, but find the best balance for you. And then very critically, choose one focus at a time, because that's where a lot of people go wrong. They try and do everything at once. Pay back the cousin, save some money, put a little bit aside to start a share portfolio. And they get nowhere because they don't have the power of focus. When you use the power of focus, everything accelerates. You get there faster. Compound interest is, you're making the most of either minimizing its effect or maximizing its benefit, depending where you're focusing, whether it's in the debt area or the savings and investment area. And you get that amazing leverage of the universe because your focus is on, I want to get rid of this debt, or I want to accumulate savings really quickly. And so what happens is then you have that programming going in your reticular activating system, which literally is back there in your brain. And So you're programming yourself to, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening right now. And it's one singular focus. And money starts to come. You know, suddenly it's like, oh, somebody else goes, oh, here, I owe you $100. Or, you know, you have a little windfall, you win some money, or you start selling stuff around the house and go, oh my God, I've just got all this money. And it just helps you accelerate and nail and tick off that singular focus. So find the best balance for you, right? And then choose one focus at a time. So that's my hot tip for you today. So let me have a quick squiz and see. Andrea's asking, can your money habit archetype change once you've shifted your vibration? Absolutely, especially because Andrea's in magnetic money. As you start doing the work, it will shift because you're shifting the programming and the patterning that's created that money habit archetype. So the money habit archetype is what's showing up at the surface, and it comes from that unconscious deeper programming. So it's your best clue as to what's going on underneath. And as you start shifting what's going on underneath, the resulting pattern shifts as well. So hopefully that answers your questions. Right back at you. Hello. Cool. Oh, that's you, Isha. I couldn't, because you're still coming up like this, Isha, because you haven't given StreamYard access, but good to know it's you. Hello. Okay, cool. Yes, do the quiz, see how you go. Thank you for joining me today. This was lots of fun. I do want to do these frequently. I have planned my next one for the 1st of March, which is also a Monday. And just letting you know that on that one, I'm going to talk about the importance of giving every dollar a job to do in helping you become more magnetic to money. And I'm going to have a special guest who has just absolutely nailed that. It is Alexis Fotaras, who is an amazing human being and an amazing coach. She's one of our magnetic money students, and she's just had I think a $50,000 month, which is almost, getting close to what she made all year last year, because she nailed this one thing and it made all the difference. So I'm asking Alexis to come on that next call, 1st of March, with me as a guest, so we can talk about it and so she can talk you through her experience. And again, I'll do a bit of teaching and I'll give you a hot tip, and she's going to share her story. So I think you're going to find that one absolutely fantastic. So 1st of March, same bat time, same bat channel. And if there's anything else you want me to talk about, pop it in the comments. I will come back later on to check, for comments and questions from those who watch the replay. Thank you for joining me. It's time to embrace your unlimited potential because you are amazing. And thank you. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.